So, one thing about me is I am a huge procrastinator. And one of the things I usually do to make sure that it doesn't horribly affect me is I usually plan a lot of things. And this was not one thing that I planned. Actually, I did plan a little bit, but probably didn't plan it very efficiently. I just had a reminder set in my phone for when I needed to upload another video, and surprise, it went off today, and I haven't done anything. So I just got home from my 12-hour shift, and I will be doing this, and then I usually practice my guitar every day. And then I have a couple of art things I need to finish up, and then I'm gonna try to only do one chapter in one of my reading books tonight, and then I'll go to bed and get up very early in the morning and do it all over again. And yeah, this is usually what I look like in a given day that I'm working. I get home, put my hair up in my little floppy bun. As you can see, I need a dye job. I need to do my eyebrows. The dye job thing is actually something I've been doing since I was like 21. I have this genetic thing where I get white hair. So I've had white hair since I was 21. And the funny thing is that stress is actually one of the causes of stuff like this. So when I was 21, pretty much the whole front part went white. And then when I was maybe like 28, some of this part went, and I don't know, if I didn't dye my hair, I'd say probably like 90% white. And it's not even gray, it's like white, like stark white. So when I do home dyes, I get purple hair or blue hair. I probably look absolutely ridiculous, but I don't care. It's whatever makes me feel better. And if I look like Barney, then I look like Barney. And it's fine. Especially now with hairdressers and stuff not being open. Like, I would not be able to get into my hairdresser to actually give me a proper dye job so I can look decent. And I'll just deal with the Barney hair. So that will be a job for days off. I'm rambling. I tend to ramble too. Yeah, so week 1 with my book. So that's backwards, isn't it? Yeah, that's backwards. With my book, to deal with like the dim light. I'm sure you can see me. And so this book is broken up into 5 different parts. And part 1, how you got this way. It's very interesting. And the first chapter is my subconscious made me do it. So when I had first read this title, I figured it was going to be one of those books about how, you know, it's not your fault you're like this and it's okay, and not really give anything constructive. But I was actually really surprised because it did start out like that. And here's my notes. These are my notes for the week. So yeah, the top part is the book. You can see my lovely coffee stains, and then I have like some notes for one of my writing projects, and then I have a bunch of notes here for a girlfriend who is doing a blog, and so I had reviewed it for her basically, and here are my little notes. So yes, basically inside my brain, an unorganized mess with coffee stains. That's my brain. So I also drink bedtime coffee. Yes, bedtime coffee. I'll go right to sleep. It doesn't bother me at all. yeah, so it actually does go into, you know, uh, how it's a lot of the things that we do are learned behaviors and beliefs from growing up, and how we pick that up through our lifetime from various people and various sources, and how when we are children, we're a clean slate. We don't have any beliefs, any preconceptions. We just do what makes us happy, and express ourselves however we feel is necessary. So that was actually a really good point. I never really thought of it like that, about how so much of your life is influenced by the things that you're taught as you're growing up. But at first, it wasn't really that clear exactly what they were touching on here. But there's these little examples um, in here. Kind of gives you an idea of what they're really looking at, because realistically, in your day-to-day life, you do need a lot of those boundaries, beliefs, to keep law and order in society. And so they're not necessarily a bad thing, um, but it says to look at the areas of your life that you feel aren't doing as well as you think they could, and try to figure out the root cause of that. So, for example, if you think to get money you have to struggle, work hard, well, you do have to work hard regardless, but and you have a belief that it's unavailable, and money sucks because it causes pain, or your husband left you for another woman who had lots of money, and it puts a negative connotation onto that thing that you want. And it doesn't have to be money. It could be, you know, um, I want to lose 25 pounds. And so here's the example. I have the book. I want to lose 25 pounds. Subconscious mind. People aren't safe. I must build a shield to protect myself. Body, a fortress of love. So it's kind of makes you look at the root cause and why you might feel that way. And one of the ones that really hit home for me was conscious mind, I want to travel the world. Subconscious mind, fun equals irresponsibility equals I won't be loved, passport blank. For me, it wasn't so much the, I won't be loved part. It was more of the being viewed as irresponsible, being a single parent. It might be viewed as irresponsible for me to go off and travel the world, right? And to an extent, I did that on a smaller level when I was younger. I would always make sure I had a week off every year where I could go someplace and do stuff, and it's just me. It's me time, once a year. And as I get older, I really wanted to start traveling, but that was part of the reason holding me back. Another part was I'm scared of flying, so that didn't help either. So it was really surprising how much negative feedback I had gotten, and I still get today, from people about me traveling. And it's kind of tough to deal with. For the most part, what people think and that about myself and the things I do, it doesn't bother me. It's their opinion, and I know that the people who support me and the stuff that I want to do, they'll always be there. And even if they don't agree with the stuff that I do, they will let me know in a constructive way but in a supportive way also. And ultimately, whatever I do, they're still there to support me. But in this case, I actually had a few people who I thought were my support who really reacted not well to the situation. And after my first trip, I seriously considered whether or not I would do another trip after that, just because of that. And it probably took me, a month or two to kind of sort through those emotions and realize that this isn't about me, it's about them. And then I booked another trip and then, had a panic attack because I had to get it back on the plane. Oh, yeah, so putting, the idea in my head that this is something I want to do and I'm going to do it, and figuring out ways to make it happen. And, stuff like overcoming my anxiety with flying was a big one. Going to a place where I am not proficient in the language alone as a woman. So stuff like that, it definitely challenged me a lot. Uh, and like just like a silly example um, of learned behavior, and I didn't realize that I did this until a couple of years ago. My brother-in-law had asked my sister when we were growing up, we were always told if we're whistling in the house that it was rude to whistle in the house, and it's just something that's been ingrained. You don't do that, it's rude. And a couple of years ago, my brother-in-law asked my sister, well, why is it rude? What makes it rude? And she's like, I don't know, ask Jackie. And so he asked me, and I'm like, I have no idea. Honestly, it's just something that was told to us like repeatedly as children, and it's just something that stuck. As I'm older and I start to understand more of the things that my mother would say, I realized that she probably had anxiety, and chaos and excessive noise were things that set off her anxiety, and that's probably where that came from. On that note, too, though, like, there are probably, like, when I was growing up, my father I was not a normal child. I know. I would get these weird ideas in my head. I decided, I wanted to be a neurologist, and I needed to learn about the brain. Like, I'm 8 years old, and I asked my father if he could get me textbooks on the brain, right? A normal 8-year-old request. And it was never a matter of you can't do that, or that's too hard for you. Like, there was never any negative connotation. It was, he would find a way to get me like a textbook about the brain and then just lead me to it. So I never grew up with those fears and inhibitions of questioning myself whether or not I could do something. Um, I would always figure out a way to do stuff. And that doesn't mean I never failed. There's tons of stuff that I have failed at, but there's also stuff that I've excelled at. So I've kind of always, it's that sometimes you just have to take that risk and learn something new. And most of the time, the only thing that's going to happen is that you look completely silly, and maybe somebody will make fun of you or something, but there's a lot worse things that could happen. um, so But an example of, something that might be lacking in my awareness, my education, is my family like had never talked about planned for retirement and stuff like that. It wasn't even something that I considered in my early 20s, 30s. It wasn't until I was probably like 39, 38, 39, when I realized that I'm getting close to the age where my father passed away, and I still had all these things on my list that I wanted to do, um, while I'm still around to do them. And that was a big push. And even though I am extremely unfit right now, like my all my tests that I went, my yearly physical and all this stuff, I'm actually in fairly good shape, besides needing to lose some weight and getting more exercise and eating properly and all that stuff. But as of right now, my heart's good, my lungs could be better, but cholesterol, all that fun stuff, blood pressure, everything is fine. And it kind of made me realize that at my age, at the same age my parents were, I'm probably in better health. Um, Definitely get more exercise, actually make a physical effort usually to get exercise. Although it doesn't look like it. But make an attempt. Um, but yeah, so it kind of had a realization that I might make it to retirement. And I know that's like a really odd thought, but it's not something that I even considered could happen. Um, Everybody in my family has always passed early, so it wasn't even on my radar. And then I started realizing that I don't know the first thing about saving for retirement, how much I'm going to need for retirement, where I want to retire, what I want to do in retirement, when I want to retire. Like, there's this big, huge list of questions. And I'm still slowly working through them. I haven't figured it out yet, but yeah, that was like one thing. It's not something we ever talked about. It wasn't anything that was even on my radar. It wasn't even something that I thought was available for me, as weird as that sounds. And which is kind of a good thing. It made me do a lot more things in the moment, not knowing if I would have the opportunity to do so when I retired. So it does make me do a lot more things in the moment. So that's the good side of it. But the bad side of it is, playing catch up, trying to learn all this stuff and find resources for, what I should be saving in and all that other stuff. Like, I have no idea about stuff like that. So, so this week has actually led to a lot of thinking about, just what areas of my life am I finding lacking and what might be the reason behind it. So, for instance, my disorganization. I've always been very disorganized. When I have a thought, I jot it down somewhere, or like on a random piece. I have like little notes all over the place. Little sticky notes everywhere, and I've always been like that. So is it a negative? It definitely can be a negative. I think over the years, though, I have organized chaos. So yeah, like, you see my desk, like, that's definitely chaotic. My my art stuff, yeah, that's not very organized, but I know exactly what's in here. I know exactly where to find everything. So it's a chaos that works for me. Growing up, though, my mother was a neat freak. and very organized. And it drove her crazy if it wasn't. And as I said before, as I grow up, I realize that's probably her anxiety. And I strangely realize I'm like that too. There are certain aspects of my life where I need them to be completely organized. Like, um, if we went downstairs and looked at my paint desk, all my paints have to be lined up properly. Like it's like the weirdest thing. Like it's separate areas of my life. I'm okay with a bit of chaos, and as long as I know what's going on. And other aspects, it drives me absolutely crazy not to have organization. So, and again, I'm rambling. So, I think we're gonna call that good for now. And I don't know if anybody ever watches this. Maybe you can comment on, some of your learned behaviors that may have negatively affected you, and what train of thought you are going to go about to try to take that negative connotation out of it to help you improve your life. So that was week 1. I had said I wanted to be healthier and all that stuff. So in week 1, I did not do any exercise, but I did make a baby step. I decided that I am gonna keep drinking water. So I've set a goal of 3 liters a day minimum of water. And for the last week, I've hit that consistently, and a little bit more probably some days, without it affecting the amount of coffee I drink too. So I visit the bathroom a lot. So yeah, so those are the 2 things I've done with that this week. I also decided I wanted to, because I've been learning how to play acoustic, I decided I want to learn how to play an electric guitar. And it was kind of twofold. It was helping out a friend in these hard times, and getting something that I want to do. So I got a snazzy new guitar that I am going to try to attempt to make sound reasonable probably next week, because once I get home from work it's pretty late, and although my neighbors are very understanding and they don't complain a lot about my noisy instruments that I play, I would feel bad if I'm playing an electric guitar at nighttime. So we'll leave that for when I'm home during the day, and I'll throw that up on my other channel, and it'll probably be very amusing for the first little while, but I'm very excited about that. And I also have one art project that I've been dragging my butt on, and I want to get done by the end of the week. So by the next video, I'm hoping to have that done finally, because it's taken way too long, longer than it needs to. So I'm setting myself that deadline to have it done, and hopefully I will show you a beautiful picture. So until next time, next week, this week, I'll be learning chapter 2, the G word. That sounds intriguing, so we'll see what that's about. And these chapters are fairly small. Like they're, maybe 5-6 pages. So I may end up throwing a couple more chapters in there. We'll see. Till next time.